Spoiler alert. The following contains light spoilers for the new Dune, so beware if you want to go in cold. At the risk of angering the sisterhood of the Bene Gesserit and at least 2 or 3 giant sandworms, the original 1984 Dune film is a more entertaining watch than the new Dune. Hear me out, I'm not on a nutty spice trip like Kyle MacLachlan in that first film 3 decades ago. Director Denis Villeneuve's latest adaptation of the Frank Herbert sci-fi classic arrives as one of the most anticipated movies of 2021 with awesome visuals. David Lynch, who directed the '84 version, has called his film a total failure, which is a little harsh. Both films center on Paul Atreides, MacLachlan in '84, Timothée Chalamet in '21, a young man from the noble house Atreides who relocates with his family to the desert planet Arrakis, where spice, a natural resource that can give humans extraordinary abilities and also makes interstellar travel possible, is mined. There's a huge conflict between the heroes and the villainous House Harkonnen, as Paul finds himself allied with the Freemen, the indigenous people of Arrakis. Review: Sci-fi epic Dune is a mixed bag of eye-popping sci-fi, lackluster storytelling. Villeneuve's Dune is a hugely ambitious work that touches on religion, gender dynamics and colonialism. Lynch's Dune is crazy pants and kind of a campy hoot. But here's what makes the OG flick a spicier bit of fun. The new Dune only adapts roughly the first half of the book, and ends with Paul meeting the Freeman woman Chani, Zendaya, has been dreaming about before arriving in Arrakis. We're all waiting to see if a sequel actually comes to fruition. No one would accuse the old Dune of being super faithful to the source material, as it excises a lot of bigger themes in favor of the action-packed stuff and major moments, but with less of a runtime. Old one, 2 hours, 17 minutes. New one, 2 hours, 35 minutes. Lynch's film does have a definite beginning, middle and end. I hope I won't have to use it. Timothée Chalamet learned this new skill from Dune. Herbert's novel is dense in terms of world building, and it was a huge influence on George Lucas' original Star Wars. Villeneuve's film creates a visually arresting landscape, though tends to gradually explain the who's who and the goings on. Lynch took a more direct approach. Virginia Madsen, who plays the daughter of the Emperor of the known universe, shows up early to explain everything the audience needs to know, from the cosmic setting and various factions to why spice is a thing. Also, the '80s Dune had an actual emperor, played with conniving bluster by Jose Ferrer, whereas Hess just talked about in the new film, Dune. Want to know from ebook before seeing the movie, or how to sound like you've read it? In the new film, Stellan Skarsgård is hidden under a bunch of prosthetics as the ruthless, large, and in-charge villain Vladimir Harkonnen. Hess more quietly intimidating, while the 1984 Baron, played by the late Kenneth Macmillan, is by comparison a murderous psychopath. He also has oozy, pus-filled blisters on his face his sniveling henchmen drain and, when not killing random service people, flies around in his space armor cackling madly. But neither of these guys are who you'd want to bring home to mom. Dune, how Stellan Skarsgård transformed to a 600-pound, often naked monster villain. Lynch's supporting cast features everyone from Sean Young, as MacLachlan's Chani, and Max von Sydow to a pre-Star Trek Patrick Stewart. The most eye-catching acting choice, however, is a ripped, to shreds Sting as Fade Rotha, Baron Harkonnen's power-hungry nephew. The character doesn't appear in the new Dune, though that might be because Hess planned for a sequel, or simply because it's impossible to follow what Sting is doing here, preening and snarling and fairly handy with the knife. If Villeneuve gets to do another Dune and finish off his epic, we will probably see Chalamet ride a massive sandworm. But will it be as cool as MacLachlan driving one, set to a chorus and rock guitars? Doubtful. Toto and Brian Eno fueled the soundtrack for Lynch's Dune, so that's another win in its column. Outside of Jason Momoa's heartwarming bear hug on Chalamet, there's nothing that rousing in the new Dune. Meanwhile, mostly because Lynch's film actually gets to a major climax, there's plenty of satisfaction to go with the more out there aspects, including a mutated alien that looks like it floated off the set of an old Doctor Who episode and a little girl sounding like Batman using the voice, Dune, speak for power similar to that of the Force in Star Wars. So in short, fear is not the mind killer. It's whoever tells you that the original Dune is a bad movie.